Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Today we're working on a snowman and we're kind of excited about our little snowman friend, and we hope that you enjoy this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Okay, so now we're beginning to cast on our machine. Again, we're just going to weave in and out between the spokes. The first part that we're doing is the head, and it is 35 rows, and we'll meet you back when we're done. So some of you may be wondering what type of yarn that we're using. We are using white acrylic. I love this yarn, size 4 medium, that we picked up at our local Hobby Lobby. That's our nearest craft store. So if you do not have a Hobby Lobby near you, any size 4 acrylic white yarn will work just as well. I just want to mention that this first machine that we're using to work on the head is a 46 key machine. We will use that to make the head, the 2 body segments, and the hat. But later in the video, we'll switch to the smaller Audi Express. I believe it's a 22 key machine to make the scarf. Okay, now that we've done our 35 rows, we're gonna go ahead and bind off, and then we'll meet you back to show you how to close up the head and how we shape the head. Okay, now that the 35 rows are done, I'm gonna go ahead and cinch up the one side. I'm gonna thread my needle because I like to make a few passes around the top so that it's nice and tight before I knot it close. So I'm going to just do a few stitches along the top until it's nice and tight. Now that it's nice and tight, I like to bring my yarn to the inside where I do my knot on the inside. Just looks a little nicer. But I am going to be taking that string back out after I finish these knots because I'm going to use the string later to help shape the head. Okay, now that I brought the string back to the other side, I'm going to start stuffing. It's the fun part. My son says it's like playing with clouds. I like to pull it apart a little bit, kind of fluff it up. Sometimes it gets compacted down and gets a little lumpy, so give it a little stretch, fluff it up a little bit. It helps it. The stuff is kind of fun too because it's kind of like building a real snowman. Each snowman has its own unique size and shape to it, so you can kind of figure out how full you like your snowman to be. I like to get it pretty full because later when we go through it and shape it, I like it to hold its shape. But I think as long as you don't do it too loose, it should work great. And now that the stuffing is done, you can see that it's nice and full. We're going to go ahead and thread the needle again. I like to make a few passes again around the top to help cinch it close. And then I'm going to bring the string through the center to the other side. Okay, I think I just need a few more stitches, maybe 1 or 2 more, and we're getting pretty tight at the top now. I think this is going to be my last one. I'm just going to give it a little fluff, help shape it, and now I'm going to take the needle through the center, going up straight to the other side center. I'm looking for the hole on the other side. I'm gonna bring the string through, and then now I'm gonna work a little tight. I don't know if you can see, but I'm gonna do a knot with the 2 strings. That was the string that we left there before, and I'm gonna pull it tight. And it's gonna help like cinch it down and kind of give it a shape. And again, I'm gonna pull tight again because I want that shape to come. And then I'm going to go back through the center, and I'm just going to grab a little bit there at the top to kind of have another secure stitch. I want to make another stitch through, and then I'm going to go back through the other side straight through the center hole there. And then I'm going to grab the yarn, and I'm going to do a few more knots. And again, I'm working really tight. I'm pulling the string tight, and that's going to help kind of bring it down and give it the shape that I'm looking for. Now that I'm finished doing the knots, I'm just going to cut my string so it's in a more manageable size, and then I'm just going to thread my needle, and then I'm going to take the yarn back through the inside just so it's kind of like tucked away, and then I'm going to cut off any excess that comes out. Okay, now that it's tucked inside, I'm going to go ahead and give it a little squeeze, give it a little shaping, make sure that it's kind of even, the stuffing's kind of even around all sides. And that's our head. And now we're going to move on to making the 2 body segments. Okay, so the 2 body segments are done exactly the same process that we did for the head. They are just done a few larger rows. The middle section is going to be 45 rows, and the bottom segment is going to be 60 rows. And again, we're just going to sew them the same way and do the machine. It's all exactly the same way as we do the head. And then we'll meet you back. Now that we've finished all of our segments, we have the head, we have the 2 body segments, we can begin to work on the hat and the scarf. And I'm kind of excited. It's starting to come together. For the hat, we're using this blue, I love this yarn we bought at our local craft store. It is acrylic, size 4, medium weight, and we are going to follow the same steps pretty much that we did for making the head. We're going to cast on, and then we're going to go about 65 rows, and then we're going to bind off, and we'll meet you back and we'll show you how we sew the hat together. I just wanted to put a little reminder in here that we are still using the larger knitting machine, the 46 needle one. We're going to use that for the hat, and then when we go to make the scarf, we're going to switch to the smaller 22 needle. right, now that we've binded off from the machine and we're done using it for the hat, we're going to go ahead and start sewing our hat piece together. I'm going to do a few stitches around the top so that it's nice and tight and cinched together. Okay, now that that side's done, I'm going to go ahead and give it a little stretch. And then I'm going to start closing this other side in, but I'm not going to close it all the way because I'm still going to run the needle through it. So I'm just going to kind of prep it a little bit. Okay, now that my needle's threaded, I'm going to go ahead and tuck this inside of the other part, and I'm going to find the hole to the top area there. And then I'm going to bring my needle and the thread through. I'm just going to give it a little shaping, and now you can see the hat's forming. How fun is that? Okay, now I'm going to pull those strings tight so I get a nice seal there, and then I'm going to go ahead and make some knots to close it. Okay, and now I'm going to fold under a band here, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of eyeball it, make sure that it's nice and even all around, and then I'm going to start sewing. Okay, so the needle, I'm not going through both layers. I'm kind of working through the center of the layers here. And I'm going to bring the needle through to around the edge of where the band folds over. And I'm going to be careful not to pull the string too tight. So usually I'm working really tight with the strings. This way I'm going to be a little bit opposite. I want it to be loose. I want the string to be nice and loose because I don't want it to pull taut and mess with the shape of the hat. And now I'm just going to start making my first little stitches there. I'm going to grab a few on the one side, and then I'm going to go in the middle, and then I'm going to grab a few more stitches. And it's just going to be a process of repeating, of grabbing a few on the band, a few little yarn spokes on the band, and then kind of going through the center area there, just sew these stitches. And again, I'm trying to make sure that I'm very light with the string. I'm not pulling it tight. I want it to be pretty loose. Okay, now that I've stitched along the rim of the hat, I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot. I want the knot to be tight, but I want the string overall to remain loose so it doesn't pull on the hat itself. And then after I have a good knot, I'm gonna go ahead and take the string and I'm gonna tuck it inside the hat there and then cut off any excess. My leftover string, I'm just gonna go ahead and tuck that into the inside as well. Okay, now I'm gonna put some stuffing in the hat so it gives it a little shape. And then we're gonna start working on the little tassel at the top because I'm going to use the tassel to help kind of bind it all together. And I think it's shaping up pretty nicely. It's already starting to look cute. For the pom-pom, I like these little pom-pom makers. I'm gonna use the large one for the hat and the small one for the scarf. I know a lot of people have their own homemade ways of doing it, but I just find this cute little machine to be a lot easier. The way you use the palm maker is to tightly wrap the yarn around both sides of the spoke, and you want to make sure that you have a nice thick layer and that you go all the way from the one side to the other, and then you're going to cross over and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, now that the pom-pom maker is completely wrapped, I'm just gonna go ahead and cut that piece. And then there's the center line that I'm just gonna follow with the scissors, and I'm going to cut along that center guideline until I've gone all the way around. Okay, now using a long piece of string, I'm just going to follow that guideline again, and I'm going to tie a knot. And I'm going to be very tight with this because if you are loose, then the little pieces will come apart. So you want to hold it as tight and as firm as you can, and definitely do 2 knots. That is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm holding it tight and then I'm tying it down. And then I'm gonna wrap it around again, and I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Okay, now that the string is wrapped firmly around both sides, I'm going to go ahead and open it. And this is the fun part. Oh, I think I missed a little string there. I'm just going to go ahead and snip it. It's no big deal, it'll be fine. Okay, and then there's our little pom-pom. It needs a little trimming, and that's okay because it normally needs a little trimming, and I'm just going to go ahead and trim those up, and then we'll meet you at the next step. So I found these cute little safety googly eyes at our local craft store, and I kind of do the eyes a little different than maybe most people do. We're going to go ahead and just kind of position them in a way that we think looks nice, and then I'm going to go through a little hole and I'm going to tuck the little safety piece on and then clip it together. Okay, so now we're going to begin attaching the hat. And my favorite thing, if you've been following along with some of our other videos, is the hot glue gun. So I'm just gonna kind of go around the outer edge here and do like a little thin layer and a little bit in the center there. And be careful of strings because sometimes the hot glue can be a little stringy. And then I'm gonna go ahead and place it on. And it's gonna be a little puffy. We prefer our hat to be sewn down a little bit, so we're going to use the pom-pom to sew it down. So now that the string from our pom-pom is on my needle, I'm gonna go right through the top here, and then I'm gonna be careful to come right out through the center bottom of the head there. And it's a little bit hard, but if you give it a nice pull, it'll come out. As I said before, we prefer the hat to be a little bit flat. So we're going to pull the string, and I'm pulling it a little bit tight as I'm going to make this knot here so that it brings the top in a little bit. I'm just double checking that it's kind of squishing down a little bit. And then I'm going to finish doing the knots. I always like to tuck the leftover string back into my projects, so I'm going to go ahead and thread this needle, and then I'm going to pull it through and cut it out. And we'll meet you back for the next step. Using the hot glue gun, we're going to go ahead and attach the head to the center segment. We love our hot glue guns. It makes the project go quicker. For the bottom, it gets a little heavy, so I'm going to go ahead and put the glue on the bottom segment, and then I'm going to attach the top two segments. And it's coming along nice. He's looking cute. So we just grabbed a mixed bag of these buttons at our local craft store, and the first time I was doing it, the buttons, they just kind of fell out, and two were together, and I thought it looked really cute. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these two buttons together to kind of give it a 3D effect, and it looks a little nicer. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue on the buttons. And I just use these my needles as kind of like a placeholder to guesstimate about where I wanted the buttons to go. And that's the fun part about this project. You can decide exactly where you want your buttons to go. For the scarf, we're just using this I Love This yarn that we got from our local craft store. It's acrylic, size 4, medium weight. Okay, now we're going to switch to the smaller Audi Express machine. It's a 22 spoke machine to make the scarf, and we're just going to cast on, and we're going to do 170 rows for the scarf because we want it to be kind of long, but short enough that we can add our pom-poms at the end. So I don't know if you've made scarves before or not. 170 rows is kind of long. So as you get down towards the bottom, if you're not careful, it can get all twisted and turned about. So it's best to kind of reach in there and pull it out. And then you just kind of lightly just kind of set it in itself and then continue through the rows. And you might have to do that a couple times through the whole process. All right, we'll meet you back at the next step. So for the scarf, we use the smaller pom-pom maker. It's the same process as the large pom-poms that we did earlier. And what I'm going to do is a little simple. All you have to do is kind of cinch the one side here. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then take the string from the scarf and tie it in a knot to the string from the pom-pom. It's just a quick and easy way to attach the items. We hope you enjoyed this video. We had a lot of fun making it, and we would love it if you enjoyed this video. If you would like, share, subscribe, and let us know what you think and how yours turned out. We hope you have a wonderful holiday and Merry Christmas.